and welcome back to Nerdmageddon. I am your friendly, not feline host. I am your croquet-obsessed host, Corey Herzog. With me, I have the man in black.
Okay, so just for clarification, I am Johnny Cash. I am, a Man in Black from Men in Black. But for those of you who are not as, culturally dignified, I am Elvis Costello. Great artist. Nobody knows who he is, so that's great.
And we have with us the special man of the hour later on. He is full-time dinosaur, part-time father figure. It's Eli.
Yeah, I'm the character that I created.
Woo!
Wow.
You're your own OC.
I am.
Love it. Love it. So we are just going to hop right on in because you know what? Twitter's not loving political ads. They're not allowing any for the 2020 election. Will, take it away.
Right, well, let me just remove my glasses here and get right down to business.
To defeat the Huns?
Right. So Twitter said on Wednesday that it would ban all political ads for the 2020 election. It's kind of putting a big spotlight on, I guess, like the veracity of things like online advertising. They're mostly doing it to ramp up pressure from Facebook's chief CEO, which is Mark Zuckerberg. Between him and Jack Dorsey, that's Twitter's chief executive. It's been kind of like a weird, not necessarily battle, but just argument between the two. They're not too sure like what they're going to do as far as online advertising goes from here. But it's definitely a big move on Twitter's part to ban all political ads for this upcoming election. And also, I think, and obviously this is just my opinion, but I think that it's probably the best move. I left Twitter because it was so political, and I think that it's just more of a mutual agreeing machine, as a guy once put it. And I think that this is like a good thing as far as like political messaging goes, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people react to this, and especially how people, go out and vote and stuff, because Twitter is still a pretty young population sample. So I wonder how that's going to work.
Yeah, because, like, social media advertising is a huge chunk of change in the industry, and that's going to reach a lot of voters. So by having platforms not, like, allowing that, that's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how that's going to affect
Wasn't there the, oh gosh, what's Facebook doing now? Zuckerberg was like getting, it was like they weren't cracking down on political ads with like misinformation.
Yeah, basically.
And so like with that going on, and then with Twitter not allowing like any political ads whatsoever, I mean, I for one kind of all for that change.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just something different, and I think that perhaps Twitter should kind of change like their formula a bit, because I think it'll generally go probably the same as last year's election, where there's a lot of topical debate and two political sides that are super polarized and stuff. So I don't know. I think that it'll be kind of a different time for all those people on Twitter. I think that a lot of people are going to need to get used to it, but I believe that this is probably for the better. And on the Facebook side, though, a bunch of employees ended up writing to Zuckerberg saying he should reconsider some of the political advertising policies that Facebook has. The reason why this is kind of like a nerd news now topic is because I believe that we use a lot of social media here. We find most of our sources through Twitter, through more credible sources, obviously. And maybe this is kind of like a thing that we should look into just this coming forward. We're not very political people here on the show, but I think definitely looking into the social media platforms and how they convey messages is definitely an important thing.
I just want to back up something you said. So you don't think a college radio show is the most reliable news source out there?
Well, no. Like this job is I think our job actually does like serve a cool thing because we serve news, right? But
Yes.
it's mostly one out of date perhaps, but it's like interesting news for that specific fandom, you know. So
Yeah.
maybe somebody talks about anime on the show that like you would have otherwise never heard of. And like I think that we do a pretty good job as far as kind of minimizing all that online traffic on the internet. So
Well, and what I find interesting, especially with, well, it's probably more of the Facebook thing than the Twitter thing. Like if like political ads getting misinformation around or spread around, I mean, people these days just believe just about anything they read on the internet, which if they're reading the misinformation and then voting accordingly, like that's, first of all, extremely biased depending on what the message is. But like I don't really think obviously that it's a smart idea to have like a bunch of misinformation floating around spouting them as facts.
Yes. But you know what is a fact, and it's been verified by multiple credible news outlets? My Chemical Romance is doing a reunion.
Woo, woo,
My Chemical
in
Romance
December.
has been broken up, I think, since I was in middle school.
Since 2013.
2012. Oh, I thought it was 12.
2013. Okay, so I was in high school.
Nope,
I'm
it is
pretty sure, yeah.
2013.
I was 14.
Yes.
It was 15. 16.
Yeah, I was like young high school weeb Corey when this happened. So the event is just simply titled Reunion. It's going to be held in Washington, D.C., I believe. Nope, Los Angeles, other side of the country. So they are doing this concert on December 20th at the Shrine Expo Hall in Los Angeles. And yeah, they are just, like, fans are freaking out because this was announced today. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. And I guarantee, I can't guarantee, but I firmly believe that they're just going to, like, sell out immediately. I would put money on that. So for those of you who weren't around prior to 2013, My Chemical Romance is known for songs like Welcome to the Black Parade, Helena.
What do you mean before 2013? Do you think like a 6-year-old is like listening to the show thinking like, man, what was 2013
Or
like?
people who may not know who My Chemical Romance is,
Yes.
they did the song Sing, I'm Not Okay, I Promise. Probably one of my favorites, Bulletproof Heart. Like, they were some top-notch alternative, like, emo, get into my soul kind of music.
Yeah, I didn't listen to very many of their songs, but
Yeah.
some of them, gold.
But you guys would, like, fans would probably recognize the name Gerard Way because he's the guy who created the Umbrella Academy comics that recently got turned into a Netflix series.
Woo woo.
Yeah, so they are up to, like, some new tricks. Supposedly they're just going to be doing, like, a bunch of old songs and teasing that they might have some new material coming out. We don't know yet. And I am so excited. I have friends who were obsessed with My Chemical Romance, like, middle school and all of that. Like, it was a huge thing.
Well, I think they came out with like 2 different things. I guess like the whole idea was it was like captioned on their social media, like just the words "return" and then "like phantoms forever," which is like ooh spooky. October 31st.
Yes.
But in my opinion, I think that the 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge album from I think like 2004 was like their best album. I had that on CD, I remember. That has like that opens up with Helena, and I believe track 5 or 6 is The Ghost in You, which is like that music video. Do you know how much it was to like make that?
How much?
$1 million. It was a whole like set, and it was crazy. It took like them like a couple months to film all that, and it's like the best music video ever. So I'm really glad that they're coming back.
Yes. But yeah, so some other interesting stuff has happened throughout the week, including some arrests. Eli.
Yeah. Okay, so I like Supernatural. I've watched Supernatural a lot. And my Facebook groups for Supernatural absolutely blew up this week. And I saw Jared Padalecki's mugshot like everywhere. And I was kind of shocked because I was disconnected for that time and didn't really know what happened. But Gerard Padalecki was arrested and accused of assaulting 2 employees at an Austin bar that he owns. And I naturally was a little curious and was like, wow, how'd that happen?
You
like,
were
he
supernaturally curious.
Yep. So, wow, good one. And the story's just looking through the comments and looking through all the different articles. At the time, they didn't really know what was going on. They had a video, basically of him putting his friend in a headlock, and I was like, is that the assault? I'm not quite sure. But then, like, looking at a bunch of different articles, it basically just seems like he punched a few people while he was intoxicated, and then they kicked him out of his own bar, and I think that's when the headlock went down from his friend trying to, like, calm him down. And there was an accusation or a statement that when the cops arrived, he kind of just, like, flashed his money at them. And a lot of people were just like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean he's trying to bribe the cops. I don't know what happened because I saw none of that. Not in video, not anywhere. I just saw some, like, police comments about it. But he is being charged with 2 counts of misdemeanor assault with injury. And the vast majority of the fans, after they pulled their heads out of their butts, were like, we need to just show him that we support him. And a lot of the comments I saw, actually, I agreed with, were not those, but where they said, like, why in the world are we, like, hanging on to this so much? Like, yes, it happened. He's a human. He makes mistakes, but his mistakes are in the spotlight because he's a celebrity. And I was like, actually, yeah, that's kind of true. Like, a lot of people care so much more about what a celebrity does when any, like, regular Joe can walk into a bar, assault 2 people, and be escorted out. Like,
yeah.
And we don't really care about those. But because it's a star, a celebrity, we suddenly care a lot more, and it gets a lot more attention.
It's just very weird for me because I'm rewatching Gilmore Girls, and he plays a guy named Dean on there.
Yeah.
And his, like, little good boy image of just being, like, wholesome child, and now this.
I mean, he still has that that whole persona of, like, you know, really sweet, cares about his fans. They do a lot of campaigns and like messages for depression and mental health and, like, ending that kind of stigma. So I do, like, as a person, I do really, like, kind of look up to him, and, like, Jensen, they teamwork that together. Misha Collins, they do a lot of work for that kind of stuff, which I do appreciate and I do respect, but I honestly don't really see why we're hanging on to it this much. Like, yes, it happened. People have gotten away with worse. It's not all that big of a deal. Yes, it is kind of a big deal that he went out and, like, punched someone. However, he was intoxicated at the time, heavily. So
nobody really was talking about it a whole lot on Reddit as far as, like, the subreddits that I follow. I think it's been a while though since we've had, like, a Britney Spears freak out sesh by, like, a celebrity, and this doesn't really fit the bill though. I think he was just drunk at the time and he just made a bad choice. So
yeah,
he's a celebrity and he should be probably good to go, depending on, like, how these things usually turn out. So I don't know. I guess, like, Supernatural, like, didn't really respond. They were just like, production as usual and everything's good. They're like, all right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of celebrities making poor life choices, Vic Mignogna, his claims were dismissed again. So for those of you who are like me and been following the whole Vic Mignogna trial situation, here's what's up. So a hearing to decide, like, attorney fees, costs, and all that owed by Mignogna is like set for November 21st. Judge Chupp of the Tarrant County District Court down in Texas dismissed 17 of Mignogna's claims between 2 separate rulings, one in September and then one in October. Mignogna is just still has a case alleged that 2 other voice actors were, assaulted by him, and then he, like, filed a suit, like, in response saying like they're defaming him. It's been a wild, ugly mess because it's Funimation. What else do you expect?
Who's Vic Mignogna?
Vic Mignogna is a voice actor that that I was a big fan of. And he voices people like Tamaki from Ouran High School Host Club. He was the voice of Uncle Crow in Ruby. He's been recently replaced. Like, just a bunch of... Like, pretty much anything from Funimation, you can find his voice in there somewhere, whether he was an extra, the main character. The ongoing joke for a while that Funimation was just a company where Vic was running around the studio in 10 different wigs. So he was like a really big wig, and then they cut him loose.
Yep.
But yeah, that's just the latest going on with Vic. It's rough, buddy.
It is.
What is also rough is some stuff happening out in California, them wildfires, which has caused a winery to get shut down.
Right. So, for clarification, right now in Southern California, when this is being broadcast, there's a giant wildfire off a couple highways in Los Angeles, and it's actually like super dangerous because there's a ton of people who live there. One of which, I don't know if he lives there actually. This is in Northern California. Francis Ford Coppola, who is a very famous director. He's done a lot of works over the years. He has his own winery, right? Mm-hmm. And so he came out with a whole like selection of bottles and stuff like that. I think a couple months ago or something like that. And my friend had bought one of these. It was really expensive apparently from this winery, and so he had some that night, and he told me, "Oh, it tasted great and all that." And then I had a sip, and I was like, "This is not Francis Ford Coppola, like, you know, it's not there, you know. It wasn't good in my opinion. I don't know. I just it felt like very flat, and so I'm like, you know what? I don't like this wine, and I think that's okay. I love his movies." And he should stick to movies. That's just what I'm saying. If you direct The Godfather, you should make a better wine, is what I'm saying. Anyway, yes. So this winery, though, like late Wednesday night, this big fire happens. Like over 180,000 people are under like this big evacuation order, and one of them happened to be the winery, which is, I believe, in Sonoma County. In California. There's this big like open place that you can go to and you can try out all the wine. And then they posted to their Twitter on October 24th, which I believe was last week. Due to the big fire, they're going to be closed for a while and just, you know, skedaddle out of there. But it was just perfect timing because we tasted the wine at that time, so it was pretty funny.
Yes. Just another shout out to a fan. Bob Gardner is also wishing us a happy Halloween. So shout out to Barb.
Woo!
Yeah, Mama G.
Mama G.
That's Molly's mom for those of you who can't put two and two together. So going off of the idea of something gross, Joker is now the highest grossing R-rated movie.
Nice.
Thank you.
I think that this was expected to change. Due to just time, and a lot of people go to see movies. But Joker, which came out a couple weeks ago, is now the top grossing rated R movie of all time. I believe second was Deadpool.
Yeah.
This last weekend, Maleficent, the second one, reached higher box office just because I believe it was their opening weekend too. But overall, it was like the fourth in theaters this weekend with $55 million. Joaquin Phoenix is still like number one spot, you know, for allegedly the Oscars for best actor. A lot of people think he should get it. But yeah, it's now the number one top grossing R-rated movie of all time. I believe number two was Deadpool, which I believe. I would have to double check, but I still have yet to see it. Apparently it's phenomenal, and a lot of people really like the grittiness of Joker.
Yeah.
Specifically this one.
I haven't seen it either just because I'm not a big DC fan. Fred Lamer, not a fan. But Fred also does not like Mr. Rogers. So take that as you will.
Oh, I thought you said you weren't a fan of Fred Lamer. I was like, can you say that on the radio? It's probably not a good idea.
It's my opinion, which, by the way, all opinions are expressed are ours and ours alone. Not a reflection of KZLX or KNWT.
Yep.
And talking about R-rated opinions, things you might not be able to say. Will and I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show together last night.
Yes.
And that was an experience.
Wait, did people dress up?
A couple of so it was a charity event. Or it was a fundraiser. For a honor society here on campus. They dressed up. They did like what's called casual cosplay. There was a couple of other people who did some cosplays. It was not a big crowd. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No, it was a big crowd. Like it was the majority of the theater. And for those of you who don't know, there's this fantastic film out there called The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I love it.
It came out in 1975. It's a really old movie, but everybody loves it because it's like the best cool classic of all time.
Oh yeah.
Now when
Tim Curry.
when you're watching this movie, you have to you don't have to, but you get to play along with it and do like really fun things while it's playing. So have you ever been to a Rocky Horror screening?
Not a screening.
Like an interactive
no,
one?
I really wanted to though.
It's so much fun. So
I was at work and I wanted to come so bad, and then you were just like, "Oh, hey, who's going?" And you both were going, and I was like, "I want to," but I was just at work washing dishes. Like,
yeah,
I
it
was
was
angry.
a fun time. So the group gave out little goodie bags of stuff that you will need to participate in the show. So we had bags of rice, newspaper clip, like a small thing of newspaper, like party, the things that like
Party poppers.
no,
Yeah.
not party poppers. Those aren't party poppers.
wow.
Anyway, we had they
toast.
had like the toast and stuff and the rice at the beginning. And it was like they give you like a whole bag, and it was pretty great.
Gloves to put on. Yeah, it's a hoot and a half. They had little party hats.
The only thing about it though was like nobody like sang. I think people were a bit nervous, but I was singing to, Double Feature and Time Warp.
People actually got up and danced to Time Warp. Like the whole theater.
Good. They
got
better.
up. And I kind of like saw you like going along.
Yeah,
with the song,
I was really
I was too.
happy because it's a happy movie.
Yes, probably in my opinion, Tim Curry's best role, like other than Pennywise. But
Well, yeah, I think it's his only great role, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just.
I love him in that movie.
And there was a guy there, Brady Netzel, is his first time seeing the film, right?
Oh boy.
And we all walk out and we're like, so, like, what'd you think of it? He just goes, all I can say is, what? I am so confused.
That brings up an interesting question. Do you guys remember your first time seeing this movie? Because I definitely do.
I feel like this is one of those things that you definitely remember.
I was like 12.
I was in high school, and I was about to go to a Halloween dance, and while I was getting ready at one of my friend's house, her dad was just playing it in the living room, and I ended up just sitting through, and I didn't even watch it all the way through, because I came in the middle, and then I was just like, what is going on? Like, I was so confused, and then we left for the party, and then I figured out what movie it was, and I watched it all the way through, and then I bought it on DVD so I could watch it multiple times.
So my first time was when Glee was about to do it. They were about to do their Rocky Horror Picture Show episode.
I remember that.
And my mom, because this was about the time we started watching Glee as well. So we were also like backtracking and all this other stuff. And she is just like, okay, if we're going to watch this episode, you're going to watch the original first. Because I guarantee you, they're going to mess it up. And I was like, okay. And so we went over to the neighbor's house because we were friends like with the neighbors at the time. They had a copy of the film, and they all watched Glee too. So it was me, my friend, like my best friend at the time, her mom, our neighbor, my mom, and we just sat down and we watched Rocky Horror Picture Show. And like there were some parts where they were like, trying to cover our eyes because of indecency. And I'm starting to understand why, like rewatching it, because it's been a few years. And yeah, there are times Mom was right to cover my eyes.
Jeez. And you were 12?
Yeah, well, we just like saw it, I think, at a friend's house, and they were doing like the things with like the packs and all that, and I was like, oh, this is like great. And then I realized that like it was a stage play beforehand, and I was like, wow, I want to go see that. So I went to see both, actually. It was fun. I liked it.
Right on. So it is time for us to take a quick break. When we come back, it is Eli's Know Your Nerd. We get to know a little bit more about friend Eli. But thank you guys for coming on, doing the show, talking nerd news. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always,
you nerd it here first.
Thank you for watching Nerdmageddon. If you enjoyed it, please check out our other videos on the Nerdmageddon playlist. But until then,
we'll see you next time.